Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me for Friday Friends. It's Deb from rielderinfo. This is episode 2, and I am very excited to be here with Cindy Elder from Rhode Island Parks and Rec, Division of Environmental Management, and she's going to discuss the resources available here in Rhode Island for individuals with mobility impairments. So welcome, Cindy. You are now on live.
Well, thank you so much. And I do feel like I couldn't have a more appropriate last name for this experience. So elder on elders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. So tell us more about Rhode Island DEM and what you do.
Sure. So the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management is really a fascinating organization. If you ever get a chance, just go to the website and click on all the different offices, because we do so many different things. I've only been here for a year. I come from the nonprofit sector, and I have been learning as we go about the many different divisions, whether it's water resources or fish and wildlife or compliance related issues. It's so many different things. Agriculture, when you think about farmers markets, that's the DEM, right? So there's so many different things that are happening at the DEM, and Parks and Recreation is one of those divisions. And here at Parks and Recreation, I'm in a newly created position that is the Business Development Office. And you are officially looking at the entire Business Development Office staff.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that would be me, myself, and I. And it's been super fun because we've been looking at building partnerships, looking at ways we can do new and creative things. And then, of course, then we've also been part of the response to COVID-19, because all of us in the state, I think, have had to find new ways to contribute, maybe ways that we didn't anticipate contributing. But I, for one, feel really happy that I've been able to do more than my regular job. And when all of this is said and done, I'll be able to look back and say that I played a part in helping out during this pandemic.
That's awesome. So we hear on the news a lot of wear our masks at the beach.
Yeah.
But
yes, I usually have my mask tied around my neck so that I can always have it with me wherever I go. But yes, wear them at the beach, bring them everywhere. They should be, just like, putting on a watch or putting on your earrings or whatever it is that you always wear. Just always have it with you.
Absolutely. So we know because of social distancing that there are some limitations on parking at the beach, and they don't want the beaches to be crowded. But being cooped up, particularly due to COVID, can be really hard for people. And so, what are the other opportunities that are out there for individuals to get out of the house? Maybe if they have a mobility impairment, what could they participate in? How can they enjoy our outdoors?
Right. Well, first of all, just sort of philosophically, at Parks and Rec and at DEM, our goal is really to provide the same opportunities to all of our patrons. And it's a work in progress. It's something that we invest in, both financially, manpower, everything else, to try and increase accessibility. It's a real area of concern and interest for us. So we are applying ourselves to it in a steady fashion. And we are, in terms of our strategic planning, whenever we think about new facilities, the design issues that relate to accessibility are an automatic feature of any new facility. Some of the challenging part comes with some of the older facilities, but one of the things that we do offer at our parks and at our beaches is we have the wider parking spaces for handicapped accessibility, restroom accommodations, ramped building entrances, virtually everywhere. I would say that maybe some exceptions to that might be at some of the campgrounds, some of the shelters. The shelters may not have ramped entrances. That is something we're talking about, though. We're thinking about how can we make those places more accessible. We also have 25 surf chairs available through our beach system. They're at 10 different beach locations, state beaches. Make sure people do get confused. And some, if I didn't work for the state, I might not be able to discern between a state beach and a town beach. But if you go on our website, riparks.com, and click on the beaches section, you can see all the state beaches.
Tell me, wait, let me just stop you for a sec. Yeah. Tell me what the surf chair does.
So the surf chair is, it's a chair that's made out of PVC and plastic and enables you to go over the sand and then partially into the water with, depending on your strength, whether you have arm strength and can use it yourself or have it be pushed. It's a light, the chair itself is light. And so we have 25 of those. They are on a first come, first served basis. And we don't typically run out of them, but that's sort of how it works. So if you go to the beach and you talk to one of the beach managers and say, I'd like to have a surf chair, and they will help you get that. And
is there a cost?
There's no cost. No, it's absolutely free. And we are also, we've been approved for a grant to get a number of additional beach chairs, and also something called a Moby mat, which folks might be familiar with, where you can put the mat out over the beach, and that enables you to use your own wheelchair. And because for some folks, it's difficult to get out of a wheelchair, or you might be you might have some other mobility issue. Maybe you're walking with a walker or a cane of some sort. So it smooths things out, makes it a little easier to get across the sand. So we are acquiring some of those. We also have 2 hand cycles available at no charge out of Cold State Park, which is right off the East Bay bike path. And so in that case, the best thing to do is to call Cold State Park, which again, if you go to riparks.com, and find Cold State Park, and that'll give you the number for the park. And just say, I'd like to reserve one of those hand cycles, and they're available at no charge.
Wow. So, no charge even for the hand cycle.
No. And we are trying to get more of those too. And in fact, we had looked forward this year before COVID, as with a lot of things. I sort of refer to it as BC, before COVID. We were partnering with a group that was going to do this wonderful activity on the Blackstone Bikeway that involved bringing people together with a variety of different mobility challenges with an outfit that fits them to a cycle an adaptive cycle that is responsive to their abilities. Because there are many, many different kinds of adaptive cycles, and a hand cycle doesn't work for everybody, right? And we can't afford to have every different type of cycle. So this was going to be a great activity and it was going to be no cost, where people come together and they get fitted to a cycle, they get to do a great ride, and then eventually maybe they want to acquire a cycle like that if they like it. But it was with volunteers to ensure safety. So next year, I think, when we get past all of this, we might be able to do that. But we're looking at a lot of those activities. The other thing that's really important for people to know is that we do offer free beach passes for people who are, if you're under the age of 65 and you have disability documentation, or you're on SSDI, then you annually you can come and get a beach pass. If you are 65 or older, we'll issue you and you have the disability, or if you are a veteran that is that has a disability, then we would issue you that ID. And 65 or older, you get your ID, you just get to keep it. You don't have to keep coming back and renewing it. So there are a number of steps which, if people were interested, they could call our office and find out. But it's a benefit. It makes it a little bit easier and particularly with the complications right now with reduced parking at the beaches, we're trying to make it as easy as we can. So,
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
how about so I like to go hiking,
Yeah.
but obviously if I had a mobility impairment, that would potentially pose some problems. Are there opportunities to hike or enjoy our trails around the state for those with mobility impairments?
Well, I think that it depends, as in many things, just like with the cycling, people have different abilities, and you really want to think about where you're going before you go. If, we have a number of our parks, like Colt State Park has beautiful trails that are actually connected to the East Bay Bike Path that are paved. So they're really, I mean, and if you haven't been to Cold State Park, it is one of the gems of our park system. It is absolutely stunning, waterfront, and it's just beautiful. And it has beautiful stone bridges, and it has benches for sitting, and lots of lovely things. But it does have these really nice paved paths that go all through the park. So that's a really great place for hiking if you really need a flat surface. There are other places throughout the park system that, are more your traditional wooded path. At Goddard Park, there's some really nice wooded paths that are quite flat. So it would depend on, if you had, say, as my nephew had, like a power wheelchair that was able to really go over some terrain, they would definitely be suitable for that. Probably the best thing to do, because everyone's situation is different, and sometimes it's weather dependent. Is it wet, right? That could affect things, right? The best thing before you head out is call the park that you want to go to. Talk to the park manager. They're great. They're going to help you out as much as they can.
That's awesome. So are there some trails that are, perhaps raised? So Goddard Park is beautiful. Colt State is beautiful. I know that there's one raised trail, Browning's Mill near Acadia. I didn't know if there are others in the state. So that way you're on a raised platform.
So a boardwalk, in other words.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. There, not so much. And that is something that we've talked about. We do have a couple things being planned in our beach areas for more boardwalk area type things. Mm-hmm. And so sort of, I would say stay tuned for that. That is something, particularly when we're looking at going over sensitive areas where we want to be mindful of the flora that's underneath. Mm-hmm. Then a boardwalk can be a great solution. It is expensive to do, but I think it goes to this concept that a lot of what we're trying to do is universal design, to make things that are going to work for everyone. Because just as someone who is in some form of wheelchair might need that type of accessibility, so might someone pushing a double stroller need that kind of accessibility. And so really what, we're trying to do things, again, that work for all our patrons, and to really think about how can we make it easy for everybody to access our properties. I did want to mention at Colt Park, we do have this awesome boat ramp that, with the help of the Governor's Commission on Disabilities, we reconstructed the boat ramp at Colt Park. And it includes I'm reading this so I get this right. It includes a non-slip metal dock with multiple landings that allow boaters with disabilities to easily board their boats regardless of the level of the tide. And each dock is purposely configured to be submerged at different stages of the tide, with a good portion of it flooded at high tide. So the design, in effect, allows the water to come to the boater, giving easy access to vessels at all times. So it's a pretty neat thing. So that's an example of that universal design. I will say that, there's a number of our parks that, depending on what kind of mobility you have, you might, I would just explore and expand your horizons. Like Beavertail State Park is a great place with scenic views for walking or bicycling. They have Marine Wildlife Education Center there. You can explore geological history. There's So many neat things there. The Blackstone River Bikeway Visitors Center, which is just sort of at that juncture of 295 as you're getting ready to exit the state in Lincoln. From there, it's sort of it's a rest stop on the highway, but it connects with the Blackstone Bikeway. And this is the coolest place. If you go in the back of the rest stop, it has these little stands where it has all the different bicycle tools you might need should you have a bicycle problem, pumps and wrenches and all these different things. It's like a little stand. It's just there for anyone to use. And from there, you can go walking, biking, and there are a number of historic monuments in that area as well that you might want to check out. So there's so many different places that you can check out in addition to the major parks and beaches, of course.
Yeah, we have a lot of great little hidden gems. So can people find that information on the dem.ri.gov webpage?
So I would, you can, but you might just skip one step and go right to riparks.com.
All right.
Because that takes you to a lot of these things, and we do have a page specifically on accessibility that lists some of the features that we have. The other thing I just wanted to mention, which is kind of a new thing that is sort of fun this year, it's hard to believe there's anything fun in the era of COVID, but there is. and we have started having food trucks visit a number of our state parks. And so what that enables you to do is go to a state park, to an accessible area, and visit a food truck, have the fun of trying something new, being in a beautiful place. If you go to riparks.com to the events page, you'll see all of our food truck happenings, whether it's a single food truck or whether it's multiple food trucks. And also you'll find our farmers markets, which are also accessible and are held both at Goddard Park and at Fisherman's Campground. Goddard is today, Friday, happening right now, 9 to 1, and Fisherman's is on Sundays. So those are great events, and it's you get to connect with local growers, or in the case of food trucks, local small business people preparing some of the most amazing food. So I encourage people to try that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, just on a little side note, for the farmers markets, that's also an opportunity for individuals who receive SNAP benefits to buy fresh, whole foods. So there's also that opportunity. So I'm glad to hear that those are accessible as well as in beautiful places.
Yeah. So, and when you go up, if you're going to a farmer's market and you're pulling in and you're wondering, where do I go? There's usually there's a staff person from the Department of Agriculture, which is under the DEM, and just let them know that you need close accessibility. And because some of these are in, they're in parks or in campgrounds. And so you just let people know, and they'll make sure it's easy for you.
So this has been absolutely amazing. I've learned so much this morning. I'm so glad you were able to join us. So just to recap, if you are an individual who wants to enjoy the beach and you might have a mobility impairment, you have the surf chairs at the state beaches, which are different than the local ones, so be aware. You guys are working on getting did you call it a mobility mat or a Mobi mat?
A Mobi mat, yeah. We've got a grant for that, as well as a grant also for some installing some really wonderful exercise equipment at Colt State Park that is fully accessible.
That's awesome. So we've got the beautiful bike paths. We've got the ramp over at Colt State. Is there anything that, if people wanted to support these efforts that DEM is doing to really make the state accessible to everyone? Because you brought up a great point. It's not just individuals in wheelchairs, it's individuals with carriages and that kind of thing. If people wanted to support DEM, can they make donations? Can they volunteer? Anything like that?
Well, you can make donations, and you can designate it to Rhode Island Parks and Recreation and say that it's for accessibility issues. If they're interested, they could reach out to me. It that's something we always welcome, particularly when people have something that's really important to them. But also, honestly, one of the most important things people can do is let their legislators know that they believe in supporting increased accessibility to our parks and our beaches and our natural places. I think we've all learned over the last 4 months, which have been so difficult, how critical it is to be able to get outside. And the outdoors, it's kind of it's our lifeline, it's our salvation in many ways. And so we need to take care of it, we need to preserve it, we need to make it accessible to everybody. So the more people can reach out to their legislators, to the governor, and just remind them that we need to think about how we preserve these places, I think that would be great.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching and sharing your questions with us. I hope that you join us next week for Friday Friends. It will be another wonderful piece of information, another great speaker. Thank you so much, Cindy, for joining us today. I've really learned quite a bit. This has been awesome. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
And thanks